Okay, welcome back. In this section, we're going to talk about the shelter segment of the Ultra Evac. Now, the simplest tent we could find was a tube tent. This little display here will show you how simple it is. Tube with a piece of plastic, you put a rope between two trees, your tent is done. It's that simple. You weigh down the edges with either rocks or your bag itself. Now, the reason for such a simple tent is in any emergency, whether it be a fire, whether it be floods, you may need to pack up your camp and leave in a hurry. This tent, so simple, you can simply cut the line, grab the tent and run with it with your bag. So, tube tent. People say to me, there's no ends on the tent. What if it's raining? It's 2.4 metres long. You just scoot down a little bit. Now, simple tent knowledge as well, not setting up your tent in a dry creek bed in case of flash flood. But other than that, very simple, and it's all you need. Also great for family groups, because in any emergency the kids want to be with you, and it is a two-man tent. So in larger family groups, you simply put the rope between two trees further apart and put more tents in between. It makes a nice long tent, and the kids are in the same structure as yourself. Okay, if you're anything like me, I've got a bit of a bad back. If I slept straight on the ground when I was evacuating, I wouldn't be functioning the next day. So we've got a compressed foam bedroll. Now make sure you get the right type of compressed foam. There are yoga mats out there which are not the same type of thing, even though they look the same when they're rolled up. Now a yoga mat will have a lot bigger air bubbles inside the compressed foam, and that just means it's a lot softer mat. Now this kind of compressed foam will give you good support when you're sleeping on the ground. One thing is, when you get a pack, try it in the backyard for an hour. You just sunbathe in the backyard. If your back doesn't hurt after an hour, you're probably fine. If it does, grab a second one, roll them together. They won't take up much space because they're compressed foam. Now also, just because this is the way it comes in your pack, you don't have to leave it like that. My own personal one has a woolen blanket and double tarps attached. I don't need any shelter at all because it's my complete shelter. I hop into it, put the blanket over, and then I put the tarp over two ways. I put a stick above my head to hold it off my face, and it is my complete shelter. So, you've got your tent, you've got your bedding, you've got a good quality space blanket. Now, the reason for a good quality space blanket is it's quite a large blanket, but also we've got eyelets stitched in the corners. So, this can be used as a ground sheet. It can be used as a second shelter or a sunshade, just using your hoochie cord that we'll go to later, tied between trees, you've made another shelter. If you do use this as a second shelter, you do have a backup emergency blanket, a bit like being wrapped in alfoil trying to sleep, but it will save your life in the cold weather. Now, one other thing for shelter, we do have the emergency poncho again, just like the car companion and the bucket buddy, just to go over your clothes. It's got a hood. That's ample for what you need for a three-day emergency pack, and nice and compact. So that's the shelter section. Further, in the next section we'll be talking about the long life foods that you have in your pack.